Okay, so let's talk about conditions of satisfaction or project level definition of done. What does that mean? You guys came up with some awesome objectives for why this project is important, but we need to be able to measure these objectives. Just pointed at that real hard. We need to be able to measure these objectives in terms of how will we know that we've really succeeded. A lot of times we come up with these objectives and we have no idea at the end of the project, did we really succeed, did we not? Or many times we'll put those in the business case, but the team doesn't know about them, they don't plan for them, and we don't really make it real. So we don't actually measure ROI from our project. So that's this conversation. Examples of condition of satisfaction is, for example, if you want to increase customer satisfaction, you may want to take a survey before and after. If you want to increase processing, you may want to look at cycle time. So let's have you guys have a conversation about how will you measure success of these objectives.
Team, these are our objectives. These are our features for our new product, our new project. We have to come up with conditions of satisfaction. I know, Lisa, you said one of the most important feature was faster processing, to get that agent to have that ability to submit that claim.
Right.
What type of satisfaction, what type of measures would you like to see? And this is for everybody, it's not just for Lisa.
Sure, and I'm going to actually look to Michelle. What is our time right now for an agent to have to call in, and what's that processing time like?
Best case scenario, when we're on the phone with them, we can get all of the information entered into the system in probably a 20-minute phone call. If we can reduce that down for the agents to actually just submit it to 5 minutes would be ideal.
Okay. So from 20 minutes to 5 minutes. Perfect.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That's like cycle time. Very good.
Any other measures for this?
We do have our exceptions, so I don't know if we want to go into that detail. That, that's probably a standard claim, but the more difficult exception claims, they take, gosh, how many times are you going back and forth on that information and trying to get those submitted?
Those can be days today, and ideally limit those down to all one submission as well.
Okay.
So maybe
Because that's the part of we're missing
reducing the number.
information, right?
Yeah.
So I heard it's taking days now, and that you want it to be
A day at minimum, but I would think with this system, if they know up front everything that they need to give us, they should be able to finish it in the 20 minutes perhaps. There might be more data, but
Yeah.
we've got it. There's
I would-
no reason.
I would think we would try to, definitely not the day. I'd like to see that probably more around the 10 to 20 minute. Because if you think about it, I don't want to sit in front of a computer for one claim for 20 minutes. I'd like to see that probably 10 minutes if it's that complicated of a claim.
Cross off one day, and we'll just leave it to 20 minutes.
okay.
And I think we'll try to reduce the number of those exception claims so that
That would be
basically
great.
the bucket will be smaller.
So reduce the exceptions.
Yeah. The sooner we get it into the system, the sooner they're gonna get their payment, so.
You bet. What about self-service? How will we measure that success?
I think one way we can do that is by looking at the call volume. So if our call volume from agents reduces by, if we can reduce that down to maybe 75, maybe 50 to 75% of all claims go through our portal,
Yep.
then we've significantly reduced the time that our claims department is on the phone and having to take in that information.
We can actually do claims adjudication
Right.
versus customer service type of functions
Focus
that.
on the real purpose. Okay.
Exactly.
So call volume decreased by 50 to 75%, which is basically increasing our portal use.
I would say another one for this could be how many calls are we having to make back to the agents today to follow up on additional
Definitely.
information?
Right,
You
our
guys spend a
outgoing
lot of time
calls.
doing that. Outgoing follow-up calls eliminated.
I mean, is that 4 to 5
Or
calls?
at
you
least
think, per-
drastically reduced.
At least, and a lot of times it's hard to even get a hold of them. During the day they're out selling, not
Yeah.
worrying about claims. So, yeah, if we can send messages and have follow-ups happen in the, via emails or whatever.
Automation of the email
Yeah,
notifications? You bet.
that total call volume.
So do we want to
What's the
put
call
a
volume now?
percentage?
Call volume now, I would say in an hour, each claims rep is probably 20 to 25 minutes on the phone with an agent for one claim. So if we can get, that would essentially, we want that to go away completely, all
Remember,
follow-ups
Our customer service rep is spending 20 to 25 minutes an hour
per claim.
per claim.
Now, is there anything related to the number of call reps that have to be dedicated to taking these calls, just so we can reduce that total cost?
That's what our goal would be.
Yeah, we have some dedicated, but primarily everyone is working on getting a claim finished from start to finish. We have a claim representative dedicated, so each person has some claims responsibility and some servicing of the follow-up. So if we can get it down to a point where 2 or 3 people could just do calls, and those could even be more of like customer service representatives versus our claims staff, whose skill set is
Right.
claims, not phone calls.
How many people do you want dedicated? One important thing about definition of done, it needs to be very clear.
Yep.
So how many people do you want to be dedicated to CSRs for follow-up?
At a max 2.
Right.
Okay, so let's just put
I would
2 next
agree.
to that. And then because this is, we're talking about self-service, which means we could definitely measure that by how many people have signed up online. So what's your goal for that? So people that have created online.
I would think we would match what we're shooting for from the call volume reduction, so I would like to see it obviously more towards 75% acceptance.
And the other question I have too is, do we need to focus on when do we expect, to hit these numbers by?
Exactly.
So is it 3
by
months
when?
after release? Is it 6
6
months?
months.
Is it a year? What
Very
kind
good.
of time frame we're going to put around this?
And be realistic.
Yeah, I can't say the next day.
Yeah,
The
I
agents are anxious for it though, so I think the adoption rate will be pretty fast.
I think 6 months is probably, by the time we get trained and reallocate skill set, I think it's going to be 6 months after this week.
6 months, let's put 6 months. Now, what is absolutely critical and important for us to do, and Kelly, you know this, and you guys have been through projects before as a sponsor, we'll put all this right now to approve the project and to make sure we move forward, but we never come back and create action items to actually leverage and realize the ROI. So what's really important for this project is that product owner, you're going to be held accountable 6 months after this release to actually come back, and our project manager will be happy to come back and help you, but she might be on a different project, we're not sure, your project might be a different priority, but you will be accountable for making sure that these measures are really followed through with. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay?
So Melissa, you're good with everything on our conditions?
I think so.
Okay, great.
And so we never forget these, we can post this in our collaboration room, so we can always look back and say, how are we progressing on this? Are we still focusing on these measures? Thanks,
Excellent.
team, good exercise.